I thought after Jerry reading that for about 10 years now, we had the abbreviated version, but it's still a small tome whenever he gets going. Pioneer Resources has been around since 2003, and we've been very pleased to present at this conference for most of those years. Now, when things move very quickly in the junior space, as we all know, and we're all looking to provide you guys as investors opportunities to invest in companies like that. And this year, we had some opportunities to move into lithium. So whilst that resume is only a couple of weeks old, it's also out of date. This year we were able to, well in March this year, we were able to add to our strategy or alter our strategy a little bit and add a lithium project to it. So we've modified our strategy to Pioneer is actively focused on key global demand-driven commodities, and clearly at the moment that's lithium and gold. And everybody's talking about lithium, as they should do. One of our directors, I'm sure he's going to have a T-shirt next time we see him. Lithium, it's the next gasoline. And we see Total Energy has just bought into Shaft, or Saft I should say, a battery making place. So if an oil company's starting to buy a battery business, I think there's a message there. Through that director with the T-shirt that says lithium, the next gasoline, we're able to take an option out on the Mavis Lake project in Ontario. People have said to us, how on earth did you manage to get onto that project? Because it's a ripper, it's great, and I'll show you some information about that later. Wayne Spilsbury, by way of background, was exploration manager for Tech Cominco for about 30 years. He's on our board, and he's also on the board of International Lithium in Canada. Now, they've got an entirely different strategy to us. The Australian markets, I think, woke up a little bit earlier than the Canadian markets. We're established explorers. I think these guys are a group of consultants that work out of Vancouver. Since about 2008, they've been looking for lithium projects and they've been finding them. And then they look for funding partners, hopefully funding partners that can bring some technical expertise, and then they in turn do the field work. So the two companies have quite a different strategy, and so from our point of view it's an excellent relationship. Since we decided to make the move into lithium, we've done some pegging opportunities, we've done some other acquisitions, and we've reinvented ourselves too. So the Pioneer Dome project, for example, is where we took our name from in 2003, so it's very much a back to the future kind of position. And lithium today, the demand is just going through the roof. I have to apologise to any other lithium speakers that have been here. We've had so much attention at the booth that I haven't been into any of the presentations, but I'm sure they'll run you through the fact that we've gone from several, lithium demand being measured in tens of thousands of tonnes to now hundreds of thousands of tonnes. This year, the anticipated consumption is about 160,000 tonnes. The values have gone up, and it's all about battery factories. So we've got the Tesla battery factory coming in. The thing that I didn't realise that the Priuses, this year is the first year that Priuses have got lithium batteries, and I always thought that they were green cars and they did the good things and helped protect the environment. But in fact, they've been lead acid batteries, and so all you're doing really is transferring the pollution from Sydney to wherever your coal-fired power stations are. But that's all changing with lithium batteries. They're lightweight, they're deep cycle, you can charge them, and away we go. So that's where the revolution is. And we saw the same thing with aluminium a few years ago. One of our other directors is Alan Trench, and he's wrote quite an interesting article on the use of aluminium. At one stage you couldn't treat the stuff, you couldn't use the stuff, it was expensive, and all of a sudden they found you could treat it. All sorts of new demand was created, and now everything that we do has got aluminium in it. But there was a major step change in the demand, and therefore the consumption, therefore the supply, and that's exactly what we're seeing with lithium. So the first Tesla factory comes on, the second Tesla factory comes on, Panasonic aren't going to get left behind, and BYD are certainly talking about stuff. So consumption, that kind of level, up to north of 600,000 tonnes. And when we start talking about cars, those of you that read the sort of mining gossip, India wants, how many was it? 8 million electric cars by the end of the decade. China wants 250,000 electric buses now. this is just scratching the surface. And Pioneer, like a number of the other companies that have dipped their toe into the lithium water, has seen quite a nice appreciation in the share price. So when I did the slide, well, in fact, when I did the poster, we were looking at that this morning, 2.6 cents, and I'm very pleased to say to our investors that are here that we've ticked over 5 cents this morning. So at the moment we have about 2.2 million in cash actually in the bank. We've got about 400,000 in receivables, so we're reasonably well funded to keep on aggregating our projects and to do the work that we want to do over the next 6 months. Our board, Craig McGowan's in the audience. He's a... I asked him the other day what he did and I've forgotten. What do you do, Craig? He's a commercial banker. Anyway, he keeps the geologists on the board on the straight and narrow. He says this is the way the market works. This is the way that we provide value to our shareholders, or at least this is the way we can strategise for that. I'm a geologist for 30-odd years. I've been around Kalgoorlie for most of that. Alan Trench, you should all know, he spoke first thing this morning, and he writes well, and I'm sure you read his articles. And Wayne Spilsbury, we've talked about, a very senior technical or technocrat, an excellent fellow to have on the board. The other photograph that I've got there is Nigel Brand. He's been pretty instrumental in a lot of our work over the last 5 years. He came out from Wales as a geochemist. He worked with WMC. They liked him. They sponsored his PhD, and he's a world-regarded geochemist. He likes us, I'm very pleased to say so. We probably pay 30% of his time, but he's worked for Anglo Gold, he's worked for Xstrata, and like I said, all around the world. So let's have a look at where our projects are. Canada, of course. We've also got our Pioneer namesake project south of Kalgoorlie. That's about 75 k's south of Mount Marion, but I think part of the same mineralising event. We were able to peg, or at Nigel's direction, a very interesting project down in the at Phillips River. That's between Ravensthorpe and Esperance, those that know the south coast of WA, about 100 k's east of Mount Catlin. And unashamedly, neurology, we've acquired 2 tenements immediately south of Greenbushes. And Greenbushes, of course, is the world's richest, largest spodumene mine in the world. Our preferred element, or our element of choice, is spodumene, which is it's a pyroxene that occurs in quite specific pegmatites. So let's have a look at the Mavis Lake. I'm heading there on Saturday, so hopefully it's not looking like that when I get there. I don't own winter woolies. It's an option agreement, and we're well through the due diligence, and at this stage we don't see any roadblocks. We took a $100,000 placement as our ability to get exclusivity to the project. I'm also pleased to say that's now worth over $400,000. So our first round of drilling out there is already paid for by the stock that we took. Initially we plan on earning a 51% because we want to have a genuine strategic alliance with these guys. There's a lot of, well, there's not a lot, but there are a number of lithium projects still available in Canada, and these guys are first movers over there, and we want to make sure that we sort of keep them involved in the process. So we're going to expend about $1.5 million. We can take 3 years to do that, and we've got a bullet payment of $375,000, which is a mixture of cash and scrip, and all things being equal, we might be able to negotiate another placement with them. The Mavis Lake pegmatites fall into 2 areas. They were discovered in the 1960s, so it's not as if they're new. This area here has been reasonably comprehensively drilled, and spodumene was intersected. However, a lot of it doesn't comply with today's standards, and in fact, quite a bit of it was only just logged as spodumene, not actually assayed. Lithium is a bit of a bugger to assay for. But more recently, at pegmatite 18, so that's a couple of k's away, they drilled 3 holes in 3 weird directions, and one of them came up with 5 metres. So let's have a look at some of the grades. Well, let's first of all look at that more detailed area. So up here, 26 metres of 1.8 and 21 metres of 1.5. That's a really important area where we'll be starting our exploration, but we've got open positions here. One thing about pegmatites, they're granitic in composition, so they're not at all magnetic. So where for nickel we go out and we fly aeromagnetics and look for the high spots and drill them, we can do the same aeromagnetics or ground magnetics for pegmatites, but this time we drill the lows. So we've got a big low out here, and so that's a target. It's got geochemistry, it's got lithium anomalies sitting on it, and in fact there's lithium anomalies for the next 4 or 5 kilometres around there. And so we're looking forward to getting in there. Now, our aspirational target for spodumene at Mavis Lake is 15 million tonnes at 1.5% lithium. We think 1.5% lithium is the key kind of grade that we want to be looking for. And you can see from the drilling that was done in 2011 and 2012, so it's all current style drilling, there's plenty of our 1.5 aspirational grades in amongst it all. And this hole here is the one that was at spodumene target 18, so a couple of k's away. And that's what spodumene looks like. The model that we're working to, I was talking about mineralising events. You get granites, a particular kind of, they're called S-type granites, they're remelts of sediments. And into the proximal areas you have pegmatites blasting their way in, and these things are zoned. And the lithium and spodumene seems to crystallise out about 4 k's outboard of these granites. So that's the model that we're using, and it seems to be working. Using that model, we listed with the Pioneer Dome as a nickel sulphide play, but it was a bugger of a thing to drill because every second hole that you drilled, you hit a pegmatite. And so once we dipped our toe and we started thinking about it, we thought, well, maybe this has got some merit. We went through some work that, well, you guys would have heard Mike Jones from Impact talk at different times. Before he was a company director, he was a very good consultant, and he'd mapped all of these pegmatites around here. So there's 13 pegmatites already mapped. We're talking about 4 k's outboard, so it's right in the Goldilocks zone for spodumene. And so we went out and had a look. So Nigel and I went out there, we parked our car, we went for a walk in the bush, and these rocks here are lepidolite. Now, we said that our preferred lithium mineral is spodumene. Lepidolite is certainly a lithium mineral, so we get out of the car, we trip over these rocks, complex pegmatites full of lithium. We walked our way back to the car. It turned out we'd actually parked on top of this outcropping pegmatite full of lithium, so we patted ourselves on the back as being entirely capable geologists, I don't think. Now, you or I might watch, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes or Doctor Who on TV or something like that. Nigel doesn't. Nigel just gets databases and interrogates them. So one of the databases he got a hold of, it was the Geoscience Australia database. It's always good to hear that our tax dollars are applied to geosciences now and then. So Geoscience Australia had taken stream sediment samples all around Australia, and within that, of course, there was lithium, and that data set showed up all of the major lithium deposits in Australia quite easily, no problem about that. It also showed up an area between Esperance and Ravensthorpe. Mount Catlin's about there. So not only that, the stream sediment sample down here was the highest stream sediment sample in Australia in that data set. So we thought, well, this is why we pay Nigel. He then found another data set by Anglo Gold Ashanti looking for gold, but they assayed for lithium and rubidium and niobium and cesium and arsenic and all those things that run with these complex pegmatites. So the purple dots are above 50 ppm lithium. Above Greenbushes, the biggest pegmatite in the world, it's only 100 ppm lithium. So tucked in amongst these, there are hundreds and whatnot. On top of it, these two here have your niobium, rubidium, cesium, arsenic. So these are PEG 4 elements, and those that you that like researching things like that, Ray Smith in the CSIRO did a paper in the mid-80s actually studying the geochemistry above the Greenbushes and the Boddington mines. And these ones here, the geochemistry is entirely consistent with that we see at Greenbushes. These other ones are lithium anomalies, but they don't have the supporting elements. Still worth a look though. And the Donnelly River one, immediately south of Greenbushes, Through our network of people, and those of you from WA, I'm sure you know Paul Askins. Paul pegged these tenements, again ahead of the race. Again, it was based on, this time, geological survey of WA figures. The blues are lithium anomalies, the reds are tantalum anomalies. They often run with each other. Remember, our zonation, the tantalum's often just outboard of the lithium. So we've got lithium through there, and green bushes sitting there. It's in forestry, it's full of forestry tracks. The first pass of exploration is going to be very easy to do there indeed. So that's our lithium story. We still like our gold though, and Jerry hasn't binged me, but I've got 5 minutes, so we'll just go through this quickly. You can't keep a good project down, is my view, and Accra was our lead project as a nickel sulphide when we listed in 2003. We subsequently joint ventured it out to Jubilee, and Jubilee got taken over by Xstrata, and between them they did $9 million worth of work out there for nickel, but at the same time they were collecting a gold database. And this is when we first got to know Nigel. He said, if you guys take the gold back on this, this is what you actually receive. This is 30,000 soil samples through there, and this is gold in those soil samples, and that's 20 kilometres long. So it's one of the biggest gold and soil anomalies I've ever seen. And it's on ground that's been warehoused by nickel explorers. In fact, John Jones is roaring around. John found a nickel gossan just in there, and he farmed it out to CRA. Accra actually means after CRA. That's John's name for the project, going way back. And it's been, well, let's have a look. Fairly substantially drilled for nickel, a little bit of gold work through here, and we've done some modern gold work up here. The thing with this is that each of these red dots has got more than a gram of gold in it. Most of them are nickel holes, and that area there is 8 kilometres long, so it's a sensational gold target. We got a fellow named David Isles, who's an expert at doing aeromag, to draw us up or write us a roadmap of how to explore something this big. And so we're just chiselling away at the tenements and the targets that he's generated for us. Some of the drilling numbers that we did, we thought this was going to be easy. Hole number 4, 10 metres of 6. Hole number 5, 9 metres of 5. Down here, hole number 2, 13 metres of 2. Gold's never that easy. Subsequent holes weren't as good, but what a great start to a project. We started doing some other work. We've outlined a small gold deposit there. Interestingly, it's conductive, so it's got an EM conductor here. This one's got an EM conductor. The work that we did before Christmas was to try and find some new targets, so it's shallow regolith drilling, we call it, and we've got anomalies here and here and here and here, and these two are on conductors, as I said. We stepped out further, did some really regional stuff here. This hole here, 21 metres of a gram, including 3 of 4.5. That's as good as you'll get in an air core hole. And when we step back and have a look, all of that's just within that little box there. We've still got another 15 k's to go. So this is a very good gold project. So we're very pleased to have exposure to commodities, two commodities that are moving very quickly indeed. Now, just looking forward, I'm heading over to Mavis on Saturday. We'll be setting up to do some ground magnetic surveys to try and map the pegmatites in the forest. We can do soil geochemistry at the same time. And as soon as the ground is dry enough, we plan to be drilling out there, which is going to be probably August. And the Pioneer Dome, we're currently soil sampling. We've got a program of 4,000 soils. We're about 1,000 into that. The assays are starting to trickle through now, and hopefully we'll have some drill targets fairly soon from there. And with that, I commend Pioneer to you.
Very good. Thank you very much, David Crook.